Well, folks, it's time for my first long-term review project. InuYasha began its serialization in Weekly Shonen Sunday in 1996. The anime began 4 years later in 2000. It's about a girl named Kagome. Yeah, I know it's pronounced Kagame, but I'm watching it in English, so sue me. Anyway, she finds herself falling down a well through to the Warring States period. There she frees a demon named InuYasha, and together they protect the Shikon Jewel from demons trying to use its power for their own gain. The series was created by Rumiko Takahashi. In the 80s and 90s, she was known for romantic comedies like Urusei Yatsura and Ranma 1/2. Ranma had combat in it, but this was Takahashi's first foray into straight-up battle shonen. The series has garnered international success. With Yashahime on the air right now, I decided to do a retrospective of the series, starting with Season 1. InuYasha breaks into a shrine to steal the Shikon Jewel, a jewel that can grant immense power to demons. InuYasha is struck by an arrow shot by the priestess Kikyo and is bound to a tree. Kikyo dies of blood loss shortly after. Kikyo's body is burned along with the Shikon Jewel. That was quick. Is this TMar signing off? ? At least, that's where the story ends as Kagome's grandfather tells it. This is Kagome, a teenage girl in the year 1997. Hey, that's one of my favorite years. The Higurashi family has a temple on their property. Kagome's grandfather is a priest of sorts. Kagome is running off to school when her cat has gone down the old well. Kagome and her brother go looking for him. They find him, but a monster breaks through the well and drags Kagome down into it. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to put lotion on its skin, not random women. Kagome frees herself from her grasp and returns to the well. But something is off. Kagome's home is not there, and she finds InuYasha stuck to the tree. Her first action is to pet his ears. So the answer is yes, you can pet the dog in InuYasha. Kagome is soon captured by the local villagers. Thinking she's a demon, High Priestess Kaede tries to exorcise her. Kaede frees her after considering that she may be the reincarnation of Kikyo, her elder sister. A centipede monster attacks the village at night. According to arcade games, you have to be quick and not afraid to shoot through the mushrooms. The villagers struggle with the monster, so Kagome runs off and accidentally awakens InuYasha. InuYasha, like Kaede, mistakes Kagome for Kikyo. Kagome is able to repel the monster briefly somehow. The centipede attacks again, and out of Kagome comes the Shikon Jewel. Are you sure that's not the jewel that's supposedly up your butthole that the Kappas want? The centipede eats the jewel and gains immense power. In an act of desperation, Kagome removes the arrow pinning InuYasha to the tree and he goes on the attack. Kaede retrieves the jewel to prevent the monster from regenerating. The first episode ends with InuYasha turning his claws against Kagome in an attempt to claim the jewel. Thinking quickly, Kaede casts a necklace of subjugation onto InuYasha. Kagome has the ability to tame InuYasha with a single word. And what word does she choose?
Sit, boy!
I guess that makes Kagome a top then. Kagome's commands cause InuYasha to burst through a wooden bridge. InuYasha doesn't drown, and soon finds himself in Kagome's company for the jewel. It is here that we learn that InuYasha is only a half-breed, half demon and half human. The next day, Kagome is attacked by bandits. The gargantuan boss goes on a rampage trying to kill her. InuYasha breaks in for the save, but not before Kagome foolishly throws the jewel out of the window. So of course the Raven yokai leaves its host body to capture the jewel. There is a reason this review is subtitled Assembly of the Five Idiots. InuYasha forces Kagome to try and knock the bird down with a bow and arrow. The logic here is that if Kagome is Kikyo reincarnated, she may have some archery skill. The plan fails, so InuYasha hops after the bird and dices it with his claws. This knocks a boy into a river, earning Kagome's resentment. The bird is in the process of regenerating when Kagome gets an idea. Kagome ties the raven's foot to an arrow and shoots it back at it. The arrow hits the jewel and breaks it into hundreds of pieces. Now they have to find the shards and reconstruct the jewel. An endless collectathon? What is this, Donkey Kong 64?
He's the leader of the bunch. You know him well. He's finally back to kick some tail.
The next 2 episodes involve a yokai that can control people like puppets on a string. Kaede is badly wounded, and Kagome is knocked back into the well by the demon Yura. This is where it's revealed that Kagome can travel between the Sengoku period and the 20th century. Also, InuYasha buries Kaede for her own protection. Wouldn't it be hilarious if InuYasha just forgot about that? While Kagome is chilling in her own time period, her grandpa decides to seal the well. Which doesn't work. Wow, the modern era is really lacking in the mystic arts. Yura follows InuYasha through the well, and it's revealed that Kagome can see the hair she uses. The pair goes back down the well to pursue Yura and get the shard back. Yura is defeated to reveal that she was in fact a comb. They would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for that meddling girl and her stupid dog man. In the next set of episodes, we're introduced to InuYasha's brother, Sesshomaru. He and his vassal Jaken are seeking his father's grave. Also, Kagome brought back stuff from the future, like medicine, instant ramen, and a bicycle. If they weren't so hard to acquire over there, she'd probably smuggle a gun back, too. We're also introduced to Miyoga the Flea. He exists, I guess. Sesshomaru lays a trap for InuYasha using the likeness of his dead mother. InuYasha and Kagome are transported to the spirit world. Kagome sees something wrong with the woman's reflection, but is unable to warn InuYasha. Miyoga is able to wake Kagome from her paralysis. The last time I got bitten by an insect, all I got was a swollen hand. Sesshomaru learns that the key to their father's grave is inside InuYasha's right eye. Sesshomaru and Jaken open a portal right to it. But they can't close the portal, so InuYasha and Kagome go right after them. Sesshomaru is after the Tetsaiga, a sword crafted from their father's fang. However, he cannot wield it. Sword in the stone trope, eh? All he is a 12-year-old boy, he could get it out. InuYasha believes the Tetsaiga was meant for him, so he tries to pull it out. Cut to commercial, and he can't pull it out either. While fighting Jaken, Kagome accidentally pulls Tetsaiga out. Apparently, only humans, or at least those willing to protect humans, can wield the Tetsaiga. How is a human supposed to get to the gravesite? It's in the middle of frickin' nowhere. Anyway, Sesshomaru goes into his full demon wolf form. Apparently, his slobber is corrosive with a deadly scent akin to mustard gas. I thought a dog's mouth was supposed to be cleaner than a human's. After a while, the Tetsaiga transforms. InuYasha whoops Sesshomaru's ass, and he and Kagome go back to the portal, which is somehow still there. The next episode starts off with a man and his monkey stealing Kagome's clothes. Kagome briefly thinks he's Nobunaga Oda, but it's some other guy with a similar name. A nobleman has been kidnapping women throughout the countryside, and Nobunaga wants to put a stop to it. Nobunaga tags along with InuYasha and Kagome because the woman he has a crush on is about to marry this man. It is revealed that the noble is a toad yokai, or is at least possessed by one. I have trouble taking the villain seriously when he sounds like this.
Give me back my princess!
The noble comes back to his senses and wants to be slain. InuYasha is happy to oblige, but Kagome insists they find another way. However, the yokai takes control again, and InuYasha won't help them at first. Kagome separates the toad from its host with some fire, and InuYasha takes care of business. The nobleman goes on to marry the princess. Nobunaga is both a simp and an idiot. In the next episode, Kagome and InuYasha are chilling eating ramen when they are terrorized by a fox boy named Shippo. He is unsuccessful at stealing a jewel shard. He wants a jewel shard to avenge the death of his father. Meanwhile, the Thunder Brothers, who have multiple shards, are wiping out armies left and right. Yeah, it's shocking. Shippo is successful with his second attempt and traps InuYasha with a stone statue on his hands. Shippo encounters one of the brothers that killed his father, but gets clobbered. Kagome comes in for the save with a bow and arrow. She strikes the man's hair while trying to unlaunch the jewel shards, angering him. Kagome becomes incapacitated and the brother kidnaps her. I mean, yeah, she's cute, but don't get any funny ideas. This is for the shonen demographic. Shippo frees InuYasha and convinces him to rescue Kagome. The younger, more demonic brother wants to make hair tonic out of Kagome, but she convinces the brothers to spare her for now. She tells them about her so-called lover InuYasha and how he's powerful and has jewel shards. InuYasha enters the rocky estate while carrying Shippo and Kagome's bike and bag. The Thunder Brothers attack InuYasha on his way to the estate. Shippo uses his illusions to defend Kagome from the younger brother, which knocks off his last hair. This causes him to fly into a rage. Shippo and Kagome trick him to no avail. The younger brother begins to choke Kagome. After choking her for about 5 minutes, the brother is slain by InuYasha. Seriously, she's being choked for a while. That's being a main character for you. The humanoid brother takes the other's jewel shards to become more powerful. InuYasha is able to block his attack with Tetsaiga's sheath. InuYasha struggles, but Kagome is able to break one of the guy's wheels. It's kinda like he's on an invisible Segway. It takes Kagome a couple of minutes to realize they need to grab Tetsaiga. The Thunderman tries to stop them, but the attack is blocked by the pelt of Shippo's dead father. InuYasha gets his sword and defeats the Thunderman. The story ends with Shippo joining the party. And that makes 3 idiots. Kagome goes back to her own time period. InuYasha tries to stop her, but it backfires. An ancient artifact is awakened by the presence of the jewel shards. Kagome's grandfather has been making up all kinds of medical excuses for Kagome, to the point where Hojo here is being a nice guy at TM. Ah yes, the endless love dodecahedron. InuYasha's back is given out due to the giant boulder that fell on him. Back in the present, the storeroom catches fire and an old mask is the culprit. In the aftermath, Grandpa is in a coma and the mask possesses a fireman. Later that night, the mask absorbs some policemen and rams a fire truck into Kagome's house. Why didn't the mask come for the shards when the Higarashis were visiting Grandpa in the hospital? Kagome distracts the mask while Sota goes into the well to fetch InuYasha. Sota can't cross over, but InuYasha hears his pleas and comes to the present. InuYasha and Sota track Kagome to a construction site. Is this gonna be like that one Tom and Jerry short with the baby? InuYasha is somewhat reluctant to help because of the incident with the boulder. Apparently, the mask was made from a tree that a jewel shard fell in and gained a mind of its own. You know it's anime when a tree has a backstory. The mask devours InuYasha, and the Higurashi siblings play keep away with the jewel shards. InuYasha breaks out, though, and slashes the mask with the Tetsaiga, which he should have done in the first place. And now Sota has a new hero. What, the guy who forgot he had a sword? Next, Kagome is with her friends when a mischievous little girl sets off a ton of fireworks in the park. Kagome goes after her, but she disappears in a wall of flames. Kagome's friends don't see a girl at all. In the past, while InuYasha's sheath is being repaired, we get some exposition. The Soul Piper is a yokai that plays with children when they die, and becomes fearsome when its eyes open. Kagome takes Sota to visit a friend who's been in a coma for 6 months. The girl ghost is back to sabotage the boy, who turns out to be her brother. It's the Rowdy Roddy Soul Piper. Apparently she died in the same fire that landed Satoru in a coma. The girl, Mayu, sabotages anyone who tries to visit him. Mayu is vengeful because she believes that her mother left her to die. Mayu and her mother got into an argument, as usual. The mother assumed that Mayu went to the neighbor's place. When the fire happened, she pulled Satoru out, who was sick. Apparently, Mayu left a scarf over the stove, which started the fire, and hid in the closet without anyone knowing. So everything was her fault? You're an idiot, kid. The Soul Piper goes to drag Mayu off to hell, and InuYasha and Kagome rush off to save her. Kagome pulls Mayu out of the depths of hell, and she reconciles with her mother. In the next episode, Hojo asks Kagome on a date for that Saturday. She's worried that she won't get back from the past in time. The gang sees a woman attacked by a strange spider monster. They stay the night at a nearby temple, but something is bothering InuYasha. They're attacked by spider demons, and it's revealed that InuYasha has lost his powers temporarily. This happens during every new moon. Takahashi will probably forget about this plot point. Mark my words. InuYasha and Shippo go back to retrieve the jewel shards, when it's revealed that the old monk was a demon all along. The spider is able to trap InuYasha and poison him. Kagome is able to free him with the sheath. Miyago sucks the poison from InuYasha's blood. For once, the Flea Man is actually useful. After some tender moments, the Spider-Man attacks once again. The sun rises and InuYasha transforms back and kills the spider demon. Back at Kikyo's old village, someone tries to steal Kikyo's ashes. The demon Orasue flies overhead at night, which convinces InuYasha to go back to the village. The gang agrees to help Kaede retrieve Kikyo's ashes. Well, it's better than an injured middle-aged woman being slaughtered. It's at this point that Kagome deduces that InuYasha loved Kikyo, and that's why he felt hurt when he was betrayed. Orasue puts her plan into action and revives Kikyo. Her intent is to have Kikyo slay all the demons searching for the Shikon Jewel. However, Kikyo's body is merely a husk. Yeah, you probably should have used lightning for that. The gang heads to the hideout, but is greeted by soldiers of the undead. Realizing she's Kikyo's reincarnation, Orasue kidnaps Kagome in order to revive Kikyo. Orasue places Kagome into a tub of oils to suck her soul out. She's like a Thanksgiving turkey. InuYasha calls out Kikyo's name, which causes Kagome's soul to leave her body and enter Kikyo's. Kikyo exorcises Orasue and confronts InuYasha. Kikyo claims InuYasha killed her, but he denies it. Apparently, InuYasha wanted the Shikon Jewel to become human. Kikyo's arrows overpower the Tetsaiga. Kagome's grandfather could learn a thing or two from Kikyo. However, Kagome's concern for InuYasha pulls her soul back from Kikyo. Kikyo runs away before the soul can be completely recalled. I don't see how increasing distance is going to help matters, but I didn't write this. InuYasha attempts to save Kikyo from falling off a cliff, but fails. We get some flashbacks between InuYasha and Kikyo. Basically, they were lovers for a time. InuYasha is convinced to use the Shikon Jewel to become human, which would disappear thereafter. Kagome is back to normal in the next episode despite only having 85% of a soul. What, are souls livers now? It is now that we are introduced to Miroku. Miroku discovers that the daughter of a local nobleman has been possessed. He fights a weasel yokai that has been possessing a statue. He defeats the yokai, but also ransacks the booty. In more ways than one. Yeah, that's one of his shticks. Come to an exorcism and steal the riches and make love to the women. Miroku sees Kagome bathing and hatches a plan. Miroku's Tanuki friend disguises himself as a giant boulder and rams into InuYasha. Miroku swoops in and kidnaps Kagome. Wait, how does he know how to ride a bike? Miroku is able to get away with Kagome's bike and the jewel shard with his trusty right hand. They find Miroku in a nearby town drinking with geishas. Miroku is somehow able to block the Tetsaiga. InuYasha gains the upper hand, and Miroku tells the villagers to flee. Miroku unleashes the wind tunnel in his right hand, which sucks up everything in its wake. At least he warned the villagers. Kagome lunges toward the tunnel, prompting Miroku to withdraw it. Miroku is in search of a shape-shifting demon named Naraku. It was Naraku that cursed Miroku's family with a hole in their right hands. According to Miroku, Naraku slayed the priestess protecting the Shikon jewel in an attempt to get it. He killed a priestess and is a shapeshifter. Yeah, things are making sense now. With this new information, InuYasha vows to hunt down Naraku. And that makes 4 idiots. The gang follows a trail of ink to find a powerful demon that has been slaying armies. The source of the violence, a wandering artist, tries to gain military power, but is thwarted. His body is dumped in a nearby river. They're getting him mafia style, or Yakuza, technically. The artist runs into InuYasha and unleashes one of his paintings on him. The artist attacks the estate he was trying to join, or at least summons demons in his sleep. Miroku happens to be in the neighborhood, so he tries to rescue the princess. The monsters dissipate before they can harm the princess due to bad dreams. That's what you get for eating White Castle at 2 a.m. InuYasha, Kagome, and Shippo drop in the aftermath. The feudal lord conspires to take the shards for himself. The gang goes after the army hunting down the artist. Miroku is able to get rid of most of the ink demons with the wind tunnel. The wind tunnel is super OP. InuYasha destroys the artist's ink supply, so he resorts to using his own blood. His plan backfires as the ink devours his blood. Meanwhile, Sesshomaru is looking to replace the arm he lost at the hands of InuYasha. A mysterious figure gives him an arm with a jewel shard embedded in it. This should allow Sesshomaru to wield the Tetsaiga. I think this is a rare instance where being an amputee is actually beneficial. Apparently, the one making this deal with Sesshomaru is none other than Naraku. Meanwhile, the gang is settling in for the night. Miroku is doing a not-so-legit exorcism on a compound so they have beds tonight. Sesshomaru attacks the village and goes straight for the Tetsaiga. Sesshomaru wrestles away the Tetsaiga and kills 100 demons as a display of power. You know, you could have just attacked him outright. Miroku unleashes the wind tunnel. Sesshomaru uses the hive he got from Naraku in response. The insects inside fly straight at Miroku's hand, poisoning him. And the tunnel has been nerfed. Sesshomaru has InuYasha on their ropes, but Kagome cancels out the Tetsaiga's transformation. Kagome informs InuYasha of the shard, and he tells her to go care for Miroku. Jaken spills the beans about Naraku and gets his ass whooped. Kagome goes back on the attack, but is knocked out for her trouble. InuYasha is able to dislodge Sesshomaru's arm and take the Tetsaiga back. InuYasha almost passes out, but is still able to command the sword, so Sesshomaru withdraws. Sesshomaru is forced to discard the arm because it is burning him alive. Now that's some faulty prosthetics. InuYasha leads Kagome to the well and pushes her down it, forcing her back to the 20th century. Kagome is unable to go back in time. InuYasha and Miroku put their heads together regarding Naraku. According to Kaede, Kyukyo once harbored a thief named Onigumo. Onigumo seemed intent in not only acquiring the jewel, but tainting it with Kyukyo's fury. They go to the cave where he stayed to find that his resting place was tainted with demon essence. Shippo is chased by wolves, and a dog man that vomits wolves.
Or what? You'll release the dogs or the bees, or the dogs with bees in their mouth, and when they bark, they shoot bees at you?
InuYasha's wound reopens, and Miroku cleans house with the wind tunnel until the yokai escapes. Hojo asks Kagome on a date again, and she accepts. Back to the feudal era. Kaede and Miroku steal InuYasha inside a shed so he can heal. The yokai attacks again while Miroku and Kaede defend. InuYasha defends, but his strength hasn't recovered yet. Kagome goes on her date with Hojo, but bails after worrying about InuYasha. Thanks to Shippo falling down the well, Kagome is able to go back in time again. InuYasha picks up Kagome's scent and rushes to her. I bet that scent would be distinct to anyone in that era given hygiene differences. InuYasha then takes the tree he put in the well and shoves it down the yokai's throat. The gang finds Naraku thanks to Kagome. Naraku was in fact Onagumo in a former life. He offered his body to be devoured by demons so he would have a suitable vessel. Apparently, being devoured by supernatural creatures gives you immense power. InuYasha attempts to battle Naraku, but he slips away. The gang goes to a mansion to fight off a demon who's been taking women's souls. Meanwhile, Kikyo is hanging around some children when she's stalked by a monk. He tries to test whether she's a demon, but she isn't affected by the sutra. I mean, walking corpses aren't technically demons. A serpent comes to collect the princess's soul. A young girl catches sight of Kikyo collecting the souls. The monk from earlier tries a binding spell, but it fails. In the morning, the gang finds a monk floating down the river. The monk reveals what he knows about Kikyo and the souls. Formerly disinterested, InuYasha jumps at the chance to see Kikyo again. Talk about giving a dog a boner. I mean, bone. Kagome discovers Kikyo laying in a tree. Somehow, she's not trying to pull her soul back from Kagome. Kikyo paralyzes Kagome. So I guess that's a no to a three-way? InuYasha is close behind. InuYasha confesses his love for Kikyo. InuYasha and Kikyo kiss while Kagome is forced to watch. Kikyo then tries to drag InuYasha into hell. I'm starting to think Kikyo is kinda fucked up. Kikyo makes the mistake of releasing Kagome from her seal, and she responds by trying to take the remainder of her soul back. InuYasha wakes up and breaks free of Kikyo's grasp. Kikyo goes to see Kaede about Naraku. Kikyo is frustrated that Kagome is the one who is changing InuYasha's demeanor and not her. Kagome tries to go back to her own time. She comes right back to grab her things and overhears that he wants both her and Kikyo. I know it's the Sengoku period, but just let the man be Polly. And now we're introduced to Sango the Demon Slayer. She claims that the Shikon jewel originated in her home village. That's some weird hometown pride, Sango. The gang is close behind Sango in search of jewel shards. Sango goes back to her village and sees her family. Apparently, the Shikon jewel was given to Kikyo because she had the ability to purify it. Sango and the other slayers are tasked with slaying a giant spider. They take out the spider, but Sango's brother Kohaku attacks the other slayers. Kohaku is being controlled by the feudal lord. He is killed by the lord's archers. You know, it's kind of hard to feel anything for him when you knew him for 7 minutes. The lord's son comes out and kills him, revealing that he was a demon. The slayers are buried in the garden, but Sango is still alive.
Zombie!
Meanwhile, a horde of demons is headed towards Sango's village, and the gang follows them. The demons slaughter the villagers, while Naraku makes off with the shards. The gang reaches the town the next day to find it decimated. Miyoga explains that the most powerful slayers were called to a distant castle, almost as if they were lured away. Naraku comes to inform the young lord of the development of the village of demon slayers. Naraku tells him that InuYasha destroyed the village. Sango overhears this and swears vengeance. Wouldn't it make more sense to pit all the demon slayers against InuYasha instead of just Sango? Sango and Naraku head to Sango's village. Sango is still hurt from before, so Naraku offers her a jewel shard. Yeah, Sango, you're not in the best shape to exact revenge. Meanwhile, after laying the villagers to rest, the gang goes to seek the origin point of the jewel. They can't enter the cave, so the gang decides to locate the slayers that were called away. Sango finally catches the gang and attacks. Sango is able to push the Tetsaiga back with her boomerang. Miroku tries to even things up with the wind tunnel, but in come the murder hornets. Naraku is able to steal Kagome's shard by detaching his hand. He departs with the insects. InuYasha messes with the trajectory of the boomerang with the Tetsaiga. InuYasha is able to de-escalate the situation by pulling Sango out of her own poison cloud. Miroku pursues Naraku while riding Sango's cat Kilala. The gang catches up and gets Naraku to admit that he plotted the annihilation of Sango's village. InuYasha beheads Naraku, but his body still moves. Apparently it's only a puppet. So InuYasha's nemesis is Jeff Dunham. As it turns out, the young lord is a disguise for Naraku. Sango can no longer remember Naraku's location due to a spell. After 10 days of rest, Sango decides to join the gang in search of the jewel shards. And that's our final idiot. The gang enters the demon graveyard and learns of the origins of the jewel. Apparently, a priestess named Midoriko is able to purify demon souls. After fighting for 7 whole days, she was mortally wounded by a demon. She purified its soul, but forced out her own. Her soul left her body in the form of the Shikon jewel. Well, they say pressure makes diamonds. InuYasha makes his ambitions known, but is yeeted out of the cave. Decades ago, the Shikon jewel was forced out of a demon and given to Kikyo to purify. Miyoga and Kyolala go to the cave with the jewel shard. Miyoga drops the jewel, and some of the demons try to revive themselves. InuYasha swoops in to save the day, though. I still don't get why Miyoga even barged in. The gang comes across a village that sacrifices children to appease a water god. The village headman refuses help from the gang, despite the fact that it's his son being sacrificed. This sacrifice is a stand-in, and the real chosen sacrifice tries to save him. The gang breaks into the shrine to rescue the kid. The headman's son intends to sacrifice himself. Then what was the point of hiring them? The demon blocks the Tetsaiga with his trident and nearly drowns the gang. Kagome is able to injure the demon. The real water god has been sealed in a nearby rock. Miroku and Sango free the water god. Or goddess, rather.
You're so beautiful, but so tiny. It would be a first for me, but I'm certainly willing to give it a try.
Try what?
Keep it in your pants, dude. The gang reunites along with the water goddess and they take on the demon. InuYasha, Sango, and Miroku take out the water snake while the headman's son retrieves the trident and gives it to the water goddess. She makes the incoming storm disappear. And that's season 1. Whew. InuYasha is Rumiko Takahashi's first attempt at writing a pure action series. The romantic tension is solid, but the plotting needs more fine-tuning. It's not a terrible show right now, but we'll see where it goes. Join me next season as we continue our search for the Shikon Jewel. This is TMar, signing off.
I am not a centipede!